All right. Well, welcome everyone to today's webcast co-hosted by Yellowfin and the Connection Cloud. We're pleased to have you join us today. We're going to be discussing SaaS data access and integration best practices for BI. Today's presenters will be Cameron Deed, Senior Consultant at Yellowfin, and Murray Dunn, Vice President at the Connection Cloud. Both speakers have deep combined expertise and best practices around SaaS data access and business intelligence and reporting on that data. So you're in for a valuable discussion and demonstration of those best practices. A little bit about the two companies today. Yellowfin is a leading BI solution. They were rated #1 as a BI vendor in Global Wisdom of Crowd survey. They also have accolades as the #1 dashboard vendor in a recent BARC BI survey. BARC is actually a business application research center. They do the biggest BI survey in the world. They were also rated #1 mobile BI by Dresner Advisory Service in the BARC BI survey of 2012, and rated #1 in location intelligence by Ventana Research. Connection Cloud is a proud partner of Yellowfin. The Connection Cloud is the only subscription-based connection service in the world that enables real-time access of SaaS data for SaaS data users. They help Yellowfin customers easily access the data they need in real time for their advanced reporting needs. Today's webcast will be about 40 minutes. It will consist of a presentation, a demonstration, and also the QA portion. Please send your questions in anytime during the event using the chat function on your screen. We'll post the speaker's name at the end so you can follow up with them directly if you wish. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about the volume of SaaS data, which is rapidly increasing with the cloud applications, which seem to pop up every day. Why this is a potential problem for users like yourselves, and what are the challenges with SaaS data access, and particularly accessing that data, merging that data, and integrating that data to do that advanced reporting that you need. And we're going to talk about solutions, how we can better address these challenges with best practices that you're going to see in this event today. So with that, I'm going to hand off to our first speaker, Cameron Deed.
Thanks, Sherry. So I'm going to talk about SaaS data. So the volume of SaaS data is rapidly growing, so even if you don't have a lot of SaaS-based applications right now, you might soon. And chances are you're using more SaaS-based applications than ever before. Why? Well, because you're capturing more data and more types of data than ever before. So what's led to this growth in data? Well, firstly, there's been a growth of existing data sources. Also, there's been an emergence of new data types, such as geospatial, which is your geographic data, social media commentary, and mobile. We're also capturing more data than ever before, just because of the relative cost of storing this information has gone down considerably, and new technology exists to capture and leverage this information. So, as an example, to the moon and back, the volume of data you collect is skyrocketing. So in 2009 alone, there was enough data created to fill a stack of DVDs reaching the moon and back. And this volume is expected to grow 44 times over by 2020, according to IDC. SaaS data equals big data. So why has the increase in the amount of data collected resulted in an increase in the amount of data stored in the cloud? Well, the benefits of SaaS are clear. It's a faster time to value, increased agility, and fewer ongoing strains on IT resources. Just a few different examples. And because of this, the use of SaaS applications is booming, and the SaaS market is expected to grow 3 times over by 2016, with SaaS applications accounting for roughly 15% of enterprise application purchases by 2015. Also, the number of SaaS-based applications now numbers more than 2,500 and estimated to be growing 5 times faster than traditional applications, according to Bloor Research. So, why is the growth in cloud-based data and the number of SaaS-based applications a potential problem? Well, because all your SaaS-based data is siloed in all of your cloud-based applications, it starts to become devalued. So according to a recent survey of IT executives by Dimensional Research, 2 in 3 organizations are experiencing issues integrating data between SaaS applications. So without the ability to access and integrate your SaaS-based data for reporting, you've wasted a lot of time and money collecting inactionable information. Thus, your data starts to become devalued. So, in fact, this is quite a common problem, and a recent IBM and MIT Sloan Management Review survey of over 3,000 executives found that 60% of organizations collect more data than they can effectively use. And without merging and analyzing your data from multiple SaaS applications into one unified view, you're also missing out on new discoveries that are only possible when all of that data is combined. Now I will hand you over to Murray, who will discuss some of the traditional challenges of reporting on SaaS data.
Cameron talked a little bit about the moon, and what I'd like to do is and the clouds, and what I'd like to do is bring this back down to earth a little bit. This slide from our friends at Bessemer Venture Partners is probably one of the best descriptions of what's happening in the cloud and SaaS market space. You know, many of you who are using SaaS applications today, and I know we recently did a survey here internally and found that we're using 16 different SaaS applications when the average respondent in our company thought it was between 5 and 6. Yeah, most of you are looking at this, picking out the applications that you probably use today. What this slide is showing us is not only the tremendous growth in the number of applications that are out there, but this is just the top 300. There are dozens of applications, new applications being released every day, which is terrific because there are a tremendous number of benefits from using SaaS applications. But one of the challenges we have run into with SaaS applications is the fact that the underlying data that exists in all of these applications is not as easily accessible as we're perhaps traditionally used to when we could access data that was in our own data center. You know, if we needed to do an analysis across our customer relationship management system and our financial management system, and it was when we had our on-premise applications, it was fairly simple. We spoke to IT. IT gave us access to the underlying database that was residing in our data warehouse, and we simply pointed our favorite reporting tool at it and started working with the data. We were able to do that because of a bunch of standards which have been in place for a number of years. What's happened now, however, is that the Wild West, if you like, of SaaS and cloud computing means that many of these companies have created these terrific applications which were adopting at a rate faster than ever before. But our ability to access the underlying data of these applications is gated. It's gated behind the UI of the application. It's gated behind the APIs that these companies ask us to use to be able to access their underlying data and the different authentication methods that each of these applications require us to use to get at that data. And the net result is that all of our data that exists across these SaaS applications is literally like it's all occurring in its own data silo again, to use a term that we thought we'd solved back in the 80s and 90s. And so let me bring this down a level further. Let's say that we use these 3 applications: Intact, a very popular financial management application; Zendesk, the most popular customer support ticket management system in the world; and Salesforce, I'm sure anyone on this webinar is very familiar with. If we wanted to be able to run reports on this data, to get the value out of this data, we literally have a number of different options, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But for us to be able to get the real value out of this data, to understand what's happening with our customer, for instance, how much we're billing them, how much support we're providing them, what kind of new opportunities we have for them, for us to be able to realize that true value, we need to be able to pull all of this data together for us to be able to use. And as I say, historically, when this data was was on-premise, we simply pointed our favorite reporting tool at it and created reports across that SaaS application data. And now in the cloud, we've lost that ability. So let's bring it down to where the rubber hits the road. What are the sorts of problems, the challenges that people are having when it comes to accessing SaaS application data? Well, for starters, creating reports and analyzing data across multiple SaaS applications is a challenge. You've got data in Salesforce, you've got data in NetSuite, you've got data in Zuora perhaps, and you need to be able to reconcile between those different applications. And this is a challenge. You either go and use each of the individual tools independently, but ideally you'd be able to access the data across all those applications in one tool, one common tool, and one way to be able to pull the information and the data you need. The other challenge has become problems with reporting across cloud and on-premise applications. Not to mention snapshots when you need it and real-time data when you need it. Extending the capabilities of the SaaS application reporting solutions that already exist. Salesforce has a pretty damn good reporting solution. They spent a lot of money developing it, but when you hit a wall in regards to what you need with Salesforce, or when you hit a wall in regards to what you need from your financial management system, how do you get the data that you need to be able to make the decisions that you need? And not to mention then, more advanced features for those products that don't already support capabilities like more detailed analysis, charts, and graphing and so forth. And then finally, analyzing large data sets. And I'm sure many people here on this call can start to think of some of the challenges that they've had when it comes to accessing data from their SaaS applications and in the cloud. So how are people solving for this challenge today? Well, there are probably three primary ways that companies have solved for this, and the first is the ever famous CSV File Shuffle. And I think we all have lived this scenario where there's a requirement for a report, some analysis to be done for a board meeting that's going to happen next week, and the data is going to need to be pulled in from Salesforce and my financial management system, NetSuite, and perhaps my marketing automation system, Eloqua. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to download the CSV files, I'm going to bring it into Excel, I'm going to manipulate that data, I'm going to add some custom formulas to give me the exact information that I want, and then I'm going to spend my weekend preparing and making the report look exactly how it needs to look. I'm going to bring it in to my manager on Monday morning before the board meeting, and he's going to say, that looks fantastic, could you just add one more field to tell us what the average number of days sales outstanding are? And of course, to management, it's just another column in the report. But to you, it's your weekend gone again, because you have to go back and basically recreate that report from scratch to be able to go through all the customizations that you created previously. The other way that people go to resolve this challenge of reporting on data in the cloud is the on-premise data warehouse project. And for those of you who have experienced this, you can tell the story as well as I can. You engage your IT team to talk about what needs to happen with this data warehouse project. They go away and put together a project plan and a budget that, in the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to be able to develop this data warehouse so that you'll be able to start reporting off it. They'll start building out the spec of the reporting solution, and you'll spend some time, or they'll spend some time, meeting with the various data integration tool providers and the various data warehouse solution providers, or you'll talk to your internal IT team and they're going to get tremendously excited about the fact they get to build a custom solution, a custom connector to that particular application. I'm going to talk about custom connectors a lot today because this is an area we have to as an industry, jump all over, because there is a tremendous amount of money being wasted in this industry as people go about building custom connectors to each of these SaaS applications. But as I say, we'll talk about that more in a second. So at the end of the day, you've got your 3 to 6 month data warehouse project and your 5 to 6 figure sum associated with it. And as a result, you're going to end up with your reporting solution, your data warehouse solution, I should say. The third way people have been solving for this problem is data replication. And Salesforce, again, has been a big proponent of this, because if you're a NetSuite, if you're a company that uses Salesforce and NetSuite and Zuora and some of these SaaS applications, Salesforce will tell you the problems. No problem at all. All you need to do is to implement some third-party data integration tools and move all of your data onto the Salesforce platform, and that way you can use the reporting tools on Salesforce to get access to the information and the data that you need. Of course, that's not so helpful if you're the support manager and you use Zendesk, or if you're the marketing team and Eloqua is your platform. And each of these companies have then gone about saying, okay, well, don't worry, we'll create the facility for you to basically move your data onto our platforms. And what you can see developing very quickly here is a very complicated challenge, and that is that you're ending up with replicated data across your entire, quote, virtual data center. And replicated data and the need to replicate data on an ongoing basis and manage all of these versions of replicated data is a major accident waiting to happen. So what are the data access and integration best practices for BI? Well, first of all, keep it in the cloud. As a company, and I think in Gartner's latest report, 75% of all new BI projects as of 2014 will be cloud-based projects. And the reason why is because we have all recognized the benefits of being in the cloud. You've already recognized these benefits: total cost of ownership, time to value, and so forth. Your integration and your data access solution should be no different. There should be no reason for you to have to implement servers in-house so that you can connect to data from your various SaaS applications. There should be no need for you to pay large upfront amounts of money for you to be able to connect your various sources of data for your business intelligence and data warehousing requirements. This is the decade of the cloud, and you should be able to pay for service as you need it, when you need it, that has been the promise of the cloud. And when it comes to data integration, it should be absolutely no difference. The second best practice is and this goes obviously for anyone who's worked in the BI and reporting world. Nothing has changed here in regards to maintaining one source of the truth. We've all been in the situation where we've turned up to a business meeting with 4 people having worked on exactly the same data, coming up with 4 completely different results as a result of the fact that that data's been taken offline, it's been manipulated in Excel spreadsheets, and no more so than when you're working with cloud-based data, because for many people the only way to get the kind of reports and do the kind of analysis they've needed has been to take that data offline and be able to manipulate it within Excel, resulting in this problem happening more often than not. The third best practice piece is time to value. One of the big benefits of cloud-based computing and software as a service has been the fact that you can be up and running in a very, very short period of time compared to the typical on-premise based projects, because there's no need to set up the software and so forth. And when it comes to BI and reporting on your data in the cloud, it should be no different. How long does it take you to get access to the data that you need from all the different SaaS applications you use, so you can turn that into actionable data for your business? And as it exists today, on-premise data warehouses doesn't cut it when it comes to being able to deliver actionable data when people need it. If you need to respond to a competitive situation in the market today, you can hardly afford to wait 3 months while we sort out the data warehouse so we can start to do the analysis to be able to answer these questions. And again, it should be no different with your cloud-based data access and integration. Best practice number 4 is use standards when and where they exist. And as I said earlier, the cloud environment, especially when it comes to data access, is the Wild West at the moment. You know, all of these companies developing all of their own APIs, their own authentication methods. I mean, we joke around here because we spent a lot of time studying and understanding these APIs, that is literally a master's degree in each SaaS application that you need to be able to access, because of the time it takes to understand the underlying issues of every company's API and authentication methods. And so it's fine to put an engineer on one of these custom connectors to develop access to the underlying data of a SaaS application you need, and 2 to 3 months later they'll have sorted out all the challenges associated with that. But what happens when you need to the next one, connect to the next one, connect to the third one? What happens when the first one you were working on updates its APIs and changes it? There are already standards in place for connecting to data, and we should be looking at those rather than throwing money down the drain by developing custom connectors. If every company out there today is got someone involved in a 2 to 3 month project to be able to connect to APIs and data, think about the amount of energy that's being wasted in hard to find engineering resources to support that capability. Just say no to custom connectors. Stick with standards. We already have standards in place. These standards have been around for some time. SQL, ODBC, JDBC. There are solutions today that let you connect your favorite tools, whether it's Yellowfin, whether it's Microsoft Excel, or any other ODBC or JDBC compatible product, to SaaS data in real time or through a data warehouse. These solutions exist today and are based on standards. Cloud data virtualization is literally the ability for you to be able to connect to data from multiple SaaS applications, but through to what looks to an end user like a single virtual table of data. And so let me give you an example. Let's say, for instance, one of your users needs to be able to do analysis on customer status. They're an Excel expert, or they're a Yellowfin expert capable of authoring some terrific reports and dashboards to be able to do this analysis. But they're not somebody who knows how to go and build API connections to NetSuite and Zendesk and Salesforce in order for you to be able to do this analysis of customer status. What data virtualization lets you do is it lets you build a view that would combine the billing information from your financial management system, the customer support information from Zendesk, and the Salesforce opportunities, as an example, into one view, as I say, a virtual view, that as your business intelligence user starts to query and build from that virtual table, what's happening in the back and run those queries, what's happening in the background is that the platform is going out and retrieving all of this data in real time from each of these different SaaS applications. So where you need access to real-time data, you have the ability to go and create these reports, create these custom views for your end users so they can access that data without them having to understand how to join and connect and access each of these different SaaS applications. It's a very exciting aspect of what's happening in the cloud today. So with that, how can you make these best practices a reality? And this is where I'd like to talk specifically about Yellowfin and the Connection Cloud. So moving on from our diagram that we just talked about, the Connection Cloud is a real-time data access solution to your SaaS application data. It supports the ability to create virtual views of data, the data virtualization we just talked about. It supports the ability for you to connect to the underlying SaaS application data in real time across one or multiple SaaS applications. And it supports the ability for you to build data warehouses in the cloud as well for when you have the need to combine real-time and cloud data warehouse data. A classic case in point is you've 12 you've got a year-to-date's worth of data that you'd like to be able to report on up to the day as to how your business is building. You have the ability, using a platform like the Connection Cloud, to create a data warehouse of all of your data from this year up to the end of last month, and combine that with a query that goes and pulls real-time data from your financial management system to give your end users, your business users, a view that gives them up-to-the-minute information and data in very, very fast response times, even though you're using real-time data access as part of that requirement. And it does that supporting all of the standards that we talked about earlier. So any ODBC or JDBC product like Yellowfin, like Microsoft Excel, can connect to the Connection Cloud. There's no need for you to build any custom connectors, and in fact, any product that can send SQL to the Connection Cloud and retrieve data in real time from where it resides. In terms of time to value proposition that we talked about earlier, one of the things that I've enjoyed about working with the Yellowfin team is they have a tremendous focus on providing a platform that will let business users deliver visualizations of the data in a very, very short period of time. Part of where that solution runs into a challenge is it's fine if you're accessing a database that already exists, but if you want to be able to access data that exists in the cloud, you first of all have to get into a place where a product like Yellowfin can access it. Well, what the Connection Cloud does today is it allows Yellowfin natively, in other words, the connection to the Connection Cloud comes when you implement Yellowfin as a product. It allows you to connect to the Connection Cloud and access all of that SaaS data and start building your reports exactly as you need it. So let me show you an example of exactly that working. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go into the Connection Cloud right now, and I'm going to set up access to one of our SaaS applications, or one of the SaaS applications in real time. You watch it as it happens. Then I'm going to hand over to Cameron back at Yellowfin, and he's going to go and build a report from that. And what you'll see is exactly how long it takes for you to be able to start accessing and building reports from your SaaS application data. So what you see here is I'm at the Connection Cloud. Again, it's a SaaS-based application. I'm going to log in to my Connection Cloud account. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my channels display. And here in my channels display, you'll see I've got my channels that I've already got accessed. And down below, I've got the channels that my company allows me to also access. And if I wanted to add access to a product like Intact Financial Management System, for example, I simply click on Intact screen, I enter in my credentials, and now Intact is one of the available data sources to me. It's as simple as that. Now, at this point, I could actually drop out and give the ball over to Cameron, and he could go and start building reports from the standard data views that already come with the Connection Cloud. But what I'd like to do before I do that is just to show you how easy it is to go and create a virtual view of data. And I'm going to do that by simply clicking here on my Tables and Queries screen. And what I'm greeted with here is a list of all of the tables that I have access to in my various accounts, Salesforce in this case. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the ever-popular Opportunities table. For anyone who's familiar with Salesforce, I'm sure you've seen all of these tables before. But I'm going to come down to my Opportunities table just here, and I'm going to create a new view, because I've got a call from my business user says they want to be able to do an analysis on some Salesforce data. Could I create a view for them that has certain fields in it? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build a new view for them. So I'm going to say, let's say, for instance, they needed the name and the description and the stage name, perhaps the amount that was involved in this particular deal. From Salesforce as they're analyzing these opportunities. I can go ahead and edit the columns if I want and give them more meaningful names if that's necessary. and I can filter and order by if I wish. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to save that query. I'm going to give it a name. In this case, let's call it Yellowfin. And I'm going to save that to, let me see where I'll save that to. Maybe I'll just save that to my queries folder in this case. Okay, so now I've done that. Now I've completed that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over to Cameron, who's going to show you how easy it is now for him to start building reports and business intelligence dashboards and things like that from this cloud-based data.
Thanks, Murray. So now that we've connected via Connection Cloud to our data sources, we can connect Yellowfin to Connection Cloud. So what I have here is an existing connection to Connection Cloud, and it's pretty straightforward. So one of the questions we had that came through was, does Yellowfin 6.2 come with Connection Cloud out of the box? And you can see it is in the drop-down list. So all you need to do is basically provide the details of where you're connecting onto, and then we can go to our queries, which is where Murray just saved that fresh query to. So what we can do now is we can test this connection, and it will show us all of the tables that are available from that data source, and it will also show us any custom queries that we have developed. So we can see a Yellowfin has appeared, and we can now save. So we've connected onto Connection Cloud. From here we can now create a new view, which is basically storing the metadata for what information we're grabbing from which tables. And if I select General Views, now we can see these are our views and tables available. So if I drag across a Yellowfin, we can actually view this information. So Yellowfin would just show us a snapshot of just some of the data that's available, and we can select a few of these columns to make them available for our report.
And Cameron, again, I just want to reiterate that you've just gone and basically built a report that is accessing real-time data from Salesforce in the minutes that we're talking about here.
It's all that easy. So we now drag across the fields we need for our report. So I'm going to make a really simple report, just including 2 fields. We now activate our view, which is called revenue, and because we've built a view, we've defined where we're grabbing our data from, which means that for a report builder, all they need to do is just drag and drop these fields across, and they can generate a report from that. So this is real-time live data. So if you're reporting off Salesforce, you can see this is up to date, and with Yellowfin, you can quite easily transform this into a table and chart. There's a stack load of features in the system, and if you've used Yellowfin before, you'll know how easy it is to actually generate this content. So I'll create a new chart. Great. And just do a few customizations to make it look sharp. Great, so now we have our chart and our table, and from here we could publish this report onto a dashboard. We could then send it off to our user base. So basically we have our real-time data ready, and it's ready to save and ready to be used for new discoveries. So
right, and at this point, Cameron, if I dropped into our Salesforce instance and I went and made a change to any of those numbers, we refresh that, you're going to see that data again in real time from where it resides.
Great. Well, thank you, Murray. I'll now pass it back to you just to finish up with a summary of the presentation so far.
In summary, the number of SaaS applications we have today and the amount of data that we have sitting in the cloud isn't shrinking. It's going the opposite direction, and the demand for being able to leverage this data is only going to continue to grow and become more and more important for us. There are challenges to accessing SaaS-based data, but there are some terrific new technologies available today to allow you to be able to do that as easily as you saw during our demonstration. On the best practices side, that time to value market, I can't continue to stress that enough because at the end of the day, that's what makes our business users happier. It's what allows our business to be more competitive and deliver on our business goals and objectives. Keep it in the cloud. We've made a decision to do that because of all the reasons that we don't need to go through here today. But you can have your data access solution in the cloud. You don't need to implement servers and other on-premise products to be able to support it. The one source of the truth, I think we're all very familiar with, and an important best practice in BI in any field. And then cloud data virtualization. It's the cloud data approach to being able to access this data. And then finally, as I hope you saw today, Yellowfin and Connection Cloud really does deliver the ultimate time to value solution for your business users to be able to start accessing their data.